I do what I can. I wouldn't say I'm a hero. Maybe an icon or a legend, you know.
Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
From the Talks and Tastings studio, this is Bollhagen.
This is Berg.
This is Vicar.
Welcome to the Peter's here.
Hey, Pete.
Welcome to the Clerical Errors Podcast, the show that shows you
What's behind the collar.
I am pumped today because you're here, Berg.
I know.
I missed you,
It's
man.
been a long time.
You know, we've put out some good shows,
Well,
but it's not the same.
Well, you know, and you've run out of all your other options, so.
Bert moved away just to get away from us.
I know. We keep burning these bridges.
He said, well, I'll have to come quarterly now.
Hey, that would be awesome. Well, we need to know how Bert's world turns out.
Right. Because I think to say he liked me on the podcast would be an understatement.
I think he had a lot of fun with it.
Right. So how you doing? Did you have a nice vacation?
Yeah, it was good. So
on the show today, I have a. Would you say?
What was that?
What'd you do on your vacation? Anything special?
No, I just visited a lot of family. My son went in the lake for the first time. He hated it because first the water was cold. The first day he didn't have problems with that, but then he grabbed onto a floaty, and he was wearing a life jacket at the time, but he did a face plant in the lake, and then he couldn't get back up, so that wasn't a very... So we might have to wait a little while.
I figured that he got mad because he dropped his Chaucer book of poetry in the lake.
Yes, maybe. Well, we didn't even have the dock in, so here we are trying to walk down to the shoreline over these rocks, and
yeah, and it's so cold still.
Well, and this is a spring-fed lake, so that's incredibly cold. I mean, it was refreshing, as they say. And speaking of things being cold, we got a tithe from one of our faithful listeners, and so he sent with us Bud Ice Lager and Jack Daniel's Lunchberg Lemonade. So, and he specifically said that the Bud Ice has to be cold. So, I mean, the quality on this stuff is pretty top shelf. So I know you can't drink any tonight or today. Vicar, are you up for it, or do you want your?
I'm okay for now.
All right.
Here, wait. Hey, Vicar, why don't you fake it? Just drink your orange pop for the listener.
Yeah,
Fake it like you're having a beer and drink the orange.
Sure.
Can you do that?
I can.
And
But will Peter deal with that?
Oh, we'll see. Maybe this stays in, maybe this doesn't. Who knows?
Because I think it'd be kind of a funny running gag, don't you think? Trust me on this.
That'd
one.
be funny.
Okay.
But Peter is also drinking.
Yeah, I don't want Berg to drink alone, so I was gonna get a Moscow Mule because I've got ginger beer, and I was telling Berg about this, and he said, "No, not a Moscow Mule. What'd you say it was?
A Kentucky Mule.
A Kentucky Mule." So I'm going to throw some wild turkey in with my ginger beer.
Oh.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think about it. So
Sounds like a wrestler, the Kentucky Mule. All right, how Vicar? How's your? What do you have there? The Bud Light Ice?
indeed. So
The Bud Ice, or the?
Yeah.
Yeah. How is it?
it's cold.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
What do you think, Berg? I mean, Vicar.
Meh.
You're not a beer guy.
I'm not
That's all
really
you're
not.
gonna give us?
I know. I'm a bad Lutheran. I really don't care that much for beer.
Ha! You know, I should just go on a rant about Garrison Keillor and what a loser he is, but you know,
We don't have enough time for that.
we don't. So
I have a
That'd be
story.
the next 100 episodes.
Now it's not about your Bud Ice. It's about one thing. If you're a listener to the show, like my go-to when I was younger was the Milwaukee's Best Ice. Mm-hmm. And you remember that? How that won our macro beer taste off?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah.
a long time ago?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I was back in the old studio.
Right.
I mean, we need. I don't know. Well, I don't know if you'll ever get better. Hopefully, you will.
Yeah, I think I will.
You know, because it'd be fun to do some of these taste testings again.
Right.
Do some like local Iowa brews or something like that, you know.
Or maybe we should get a little more cultured and we could do wine.
We could do wine, cheese. I like cheese, so scotch,
But
bourbons. Actually, bourbons would be kind of fun too.
yeah, I think I can have some bourbon, even though it's wheat, because it's so distilled that there's not really the wheat essence there.
Right. With my in-laws, actually with my wife's in-laws, so they'd actually be my blood relatives. We actually had a gin tasting, which was really fun. So.
That's a great way of talking about your family, my wife's in-laws.
Yep. I mean, let's just, why say the simple thing when you can, be complex about it?
The Bud Ice reminds me of, I was talking about Ice House with a classmate of mine in the seminary when we were in the seminary, because I said Ice House and Milwaukee's Best Ice was kind of my go-to, right? And he said, "Oh, come on, man. That's the white man's Colt 45.
Oh.
That's what he called it.
Oh.
So I do have to say, I was reading this morning. I was reading a biography of Teddy Roosevelt. It's called T.R. the Last Romantic. And I was reading in his book about the corruption in New York City. And this one phrase really stood out to me. This was written in the diary of George Templeton Strong, and it was written March 31st, 1855, so about 10 years before the Civil War concluded. And he uses this phrase, which I find hilarious. He's talking about the prostitutes in the city, okay?
Okay.
And it's called Noctivagous Strumpocracy.
Okay.
Noctivagous Strumpocracy. Isn't that an amazing way to talk about it? It basically is a fancy way of saying night wandering, ruling prostitutes.
I think we have
That would be a really good band name.
be a really good episode name.
That's an episode title. I'm gonna have to figure out how to spell that, but yeah, you got it. I'll have to listen to that in like slow motion and sound it out. If the episode title is wrong, don't blame me.
we'll make sure you get the right spelling, Peter. Because
yeah, I believe you.
I was like, man, and this isn't some dude's diary. Usually when you think of diaries, it's like, dear diary, today I did da 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 da.
Who was it again that wrote that?
His name is George Templeton Strong. He was a New York City lawyer.
I wonder if he was being generous in what he wrote.
Well, actually,
it sounds like he's pulling a punch. Maybe it's like, yeah, I'll be nice, but still say what I want to say.
I mean, like he's claiming that New York City is basically run by whores.
What if he used these big words? What if he used these big words, knowing that nobody that read the book would understand what the words mean? So he's writing the book and not expecting anybody to understand, so it's kind of his own little jab.
It could be, but the thing is like the education back then was so much better. Like you look at the McGuffey readers and what people did through 8th grade. Oh my gosh!
Or the 8th grade exam to pass 8th grade.
Yeah, I don't know if many college students could actually do it today. So.
Hey Peter, can you fire that up sometime, maybe while we're talking?
In fact, if you look at H.P. Lovecraft, here's a guy who never graduated from high school, and he lived in the early 20th century. You read some of his novellas, and it is very, very difficult to actually. I mean, they're words that we don't ever use. His vocabulary is huge. So
Peter fired up an old, a century-old test. So there's a spelling test. There is write the following.
Arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like relatively standard arithmetic.
Yeah, the math doesn't
Yeah.
seem too difficult.
It looks like it's mostly geometry related and money, which are both usually pretty easy.
A couple percents in there.
A couple.
Grammar.
Oh, diagramming sentences. That's something that, I never even learned how to do. So.
Oh, gosh. I learned it and then promptly forgot it because it's not necessary anywhere past 7th grade.
It is good for things like learning Latin and foreign language.
Right.
So it's got what countries? Okay, I'll ask Vicar. Locate the following countries that which border each other: Turkey, Greece, Serbia, Montenegro, Romania.
Turkey and Greece share a border. Serbia and Montenegro share a border. Romania does not share a border with any of them but Serbia. At least as of now. When this was written, I don't think those borders quite match the same.
Also, Romania is spelled wrong.
Romania is spelled differently, so Serbia. But that's just a shift in stuff.
How does the liver compare in size with other glands in the human body? Well, after the show, Berg's liver will be larger.
Describe the heart.
I feel like there's any number of songs we could use with that one.
How about this? Name 5 county officers and the principal duties of each. Like that is the kind of information I don't think it's this part. I think it's the civil government part that is it could be way lacking.
Right. Well, even the history. I mean, do you know who discovered Florida?
It was a Spanish.
Well, yeah, but
Ponce de Leon.
What? Oh, really? Good. If
I remember correctly.
I didn't know that.
Sketch briefly.
Sketch? You have to make a picture as part of the test.
I don't know if they necessarily mean picture by sketch.
Sounds kind of sketchy.
Peter Stuyvesant.
All right.
Describe the Battle of Quebec. Yeah. The last battle of the Civil War. War of 1812. Obviously, that's...
War of 1812 is going to really trip everyone.
French and Indian War. Commanders in each battle. Which president was impeached and on what charge? Which president was impeached? The only president at that time? Johnson.
And what was the charge?
What was the charge? Do you remember?
Against Andrew Johnson? No, I do not recall.
The radical Republicans were going after him for...
It wasn't something as scandalous.
If I'm not mistaken...
It wasn't something like super...
He had violated the
scandalous.
Tenure of Office Act. I'm kind of going off memory.
Yeah.
When he removed... Was it Edwin Statman? I'm kind of going from memory here.
I mean, not near...
You are a scholar and a gentleman.
Not near as scandalous as more recent impeachments.
Actually, this is a true story. I actually had recently a doctor's appointment, and I asked a question. The doctor said, "That's a good question," and Googled it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
That's a lot of... You paid that guy a lot of money to open up a search results.
Well, I got the idea, though. Like, hey, Pastor, I'm struggling with this. Here, just a sec. Well, I'm thinking.
That kind of reminds me of Parks and Rec, where Andy Googles Leslie's, symptoms, and he's like, "Leslie, you have connectivity issues."
That's one of my favorite jokes.
They do the same thing on The Office, where they're trying to figure out why Michael doesn't want to do whatever paperwork it is, and they're looking on WebMD, and it's all. But I think they're on like women's symptoms for something. So,
so Berg, what are you preaching on?
All right. So, what is the text?
The text for Second Sunday of Trinity would be Luke 14:15-24.
And what is this?
One of the many parables of a wedding banquet.
All right. Give us a nice summary.
So Jesus and his disciples had been invited to someone's house, and he's talking about, just before this, with the wedding banquets, don't just invite your friends and your family, but also invite, everyone else. So someone was like, blessed is everyone who will eat the bread in the kingdom of God. Yeah, but he said to him, a man once gave a great banquet and invited many. And this is when we get the list of, they sent out invitations. The servants then go to bring the people to the banquet, and they're all like, well, no, I've got to go see this field I bought. I've got these new oxen I need to go check on. Nope, I can't show up for whatever silly reason they have. And so instead, the master of the banquet sends out the servants to just find everyone and anyone who's on the street to bring them in.
So are you preaching this?
I am.
You are.
Right.
Okay, what are you preaching on?
Well, I would like to say my sermon is already written, but the listener already knows.
Will it be written when this comes out?
Yes, it will.
Or will it be half written?
I have my ways.
When does this get dropped? Like 5 o'clock?
5 a.m. on a Sunday morning, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I will certainly have a good start by then.
You said a good start.
Every pastor works what's best for them.
Yeah, that's true.
What I noticed when I started earlier, as much as I like to start earlier on a sermon, first of all, I spend the week kind of ruminating on the text. It's not like I haven't done anything, studying and that kind of thing. But if I were to write a sermon on Tuesday, for example, and I would wind up just changing it all the time anyways.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have my way. I mean, I studied. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. Don't do that, Vicar.
So what have you ruminated on so far?
Well, one thing is, last Sunday, when we talked about the rich man and Lazarus, one thing I pointed out in my sermon is how the rich man and his brothers already had Moses and the prophets. They just didn't listen to him. It's almost kind of like an apathy that they had. They were given something, and then they just kind of, all the other stuff became more important to them.
Which commandment does that go with, Vicar?
Oh, apathy. My mind went immediately to fourth commandment. It's like, that's not quite right, but
Yeah, third commandment, right?
third commandment, yeah.
Right.
And first commandment.
Right.
Yeah.
And that when it says hear God's word, it's not just being in church listening to it.
Yeah.
Like you listen to, And this is the funny thing, right? People listen to their favorite pop songs, right? And they memorize them, right? They can sing along with the words and stuff. How many of our people can actually tell us what was preached on Sunday? This is why the third commandment isn't, the lowest thing is to be in church. But to actually hear God's word, to listen to the sermon, to talk about it the rest of the week.
As you would say, you like to say inwardly.
Digest, right?
And I think this kind of flows into that. The invited guests for this wedding, you just assume, oh, yeah, and they're not concerned about actually going to the banquet. They have other things to be concerned with. That they're like, I mean, how many times do we say, come to the feast?
Yeah.
Or I think apathy is, especially coming out of COVID, is kind of at an all-time high for me in my ministry sometimes, where, people got into some bad habits when it comes to Bible study or Sunday school and that kind of thing, which Vicar and I have both noticed.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
A little bit, yeah. So
that is troubling.
Because people found some different things to do, I suppose. But I think that is something that it's really easy to preach on, because I think that's apparent in the text. People who were invited, who knew better, right? That but the other side of that is to remember. You could think of this on a global scale almost, in the sense that, in the Midwest and all sorts of places in the United States, what do we lament? Well, how many times do we hear, remember when the church, we had to open the overflow and all those things, and it seems like the church isn't growing like it used to. The church is growing, it just may not be growing
numerically.
Right, or here.
Yep.
So that's another way. The other coin is to, on the same hand, to make sure that the word of God is heard in other places, that those people are invited as well. So what direction are you thinking about going with this text?
I am going to build off what I preached last week. Last week, my sermon thesis was what hell is and how to avoid that awful place. This week, it's why do people go to hell?
Okay.
And then it's not God's fault. God prepared the banquet, and he's done all the work. He sent preachers, and even his later actions of inviting people into his home, the poor, the blind, the lame, going out to the highways and the hedges, inviting the Gentiles in. All of these actions show that it is not God's fault that people go to hell. God actually wants his house to be full. And so whose fault is it? It's people's fault. People.
Right. That's
people are, and it's not the church's fault that people make excuses. It's not the elder's fault that people make excuses. It's not the pastor's fault that people make excuses. It's even not the parents' fault if the parents did any sort of teaching of God's word in the household. It's actually their fault. They're the ones who are making the excuses. And so I think that's an important lesson
That is.
to learn, that, because we end up blaming everybody else, and sometimes I think we take these excuses too seriously. It's like we have so much more money, we have way more time than what our ancestors did, in some sense, at least in the last 200 years. I mean, we no longer have to work 12-hour days, 6 days a week.
Yeah, even farmers, when they had to milk cows, and they had so many more chores to do a lot of times.
I mean, my grandfather, he milked cows by hand. He had, and in the 70s, I think, is when they got their pneumatic machine, where it actually, But the thing is like he was never not in church. So that's the thing, is what you're saying by making excuses is that God is less important than the stuff I'm doing now.
Right.
That's what it is. Because if it was really important to you, I mean, we see this all the time, right? I mean, people take off and, live, they're willing to sacrifice a lot to go to whatever, right? Drive all over the country to go to these bowl games and do all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, and then...
So, but, to come to church, that's just too much of an input. I got to sleep in. Well, you'll get up at 5 o'clock to go to work. You'll get up at 5 o'clock to, go on a trip. So, and I think that's important for people to realize, is that, hey, look, when you make these excuses, you are in danger. It makes God mad. That's what our text says. God was mad. And what does he say at the end of the text?
Vicar.
Yeah. So this is after everything, for I tell you, none of those men who were invited shall taste my banquet.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's
for saying this is the gospel of the Lord, it's a very powerful law preaching. Because when you make excuses, you are rejecting the word of God. And I think part of it, too, is our problem is we coddle people too much.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think we try to make things almost too easy for people. And, and you know what? They have a responsibility.
Right.
God holds them responsible for their excuses.
I find myself doing a lot of behind the collar, eliminating excuses. Of making sure that people don't have an excuse, whether it's all sorts of things, whether it's time or...
And then we kill ourselves trying to take away, when really it's like, no.
Yeah.
Grow up. Take responsibility. I mean, why do we have 60-year-old parents still vouching for their 30-year-old kids? Like in things with church. We shouldn't have that. I mean, they are grown up. It's time to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. It's like, take responsibility for what you believe. Take responsibility for, be an adult. If you want to be an adult, then be an adult. If you don't want to be an adult, then somebody can rule over you. But everybody wants to be an adult without actually being an adult, without there actually being any consequences.
Yeah, I like to be a child.
Well, I was thinking about that. When I was a kid, I wanted to grow up so bad. And now it's like, oh, man, Well, because if you actually take it seriously, there are a lot of responsibilities. You've got wife and kids and the ministry and all of these people who need you all the time. And it's heavy. And that's why it's good to go on vacation. And I think that'll lead us into our next segment,
yes,
right?
Our top 12. Should we get Hannah's comments first, Peter, or should we go right into the top 12?
All right. Hannah responded to our query. She originally asked us, is it a sin to acquire a non-rescue dog? And we said no.
Right.
And pretty much didn't Elaborate.
Well, mine was cryptic. My answer was somewhat cryptic.
You said something along the lines of getting kicked below the belt.
Right.
So Hannah responded with, did you answer my generic question? Sure, and thanks. Burns was on point, though, about asking why. I think acquiring a dog, non-rescue or not, would be a sin if driven by pride. Either see how generous and conscious I am of the plight of God's canine creatures, or check out my purebred beagle. It's purebred. Hannah.
Which means that it's inbred.
Right. Like one of them Kentucky mules.
No, actually, that's cross speciation.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
So they're sterile.
This is true story. True story about mule. I got a mule story, believe it or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
So we had the Lutheran Hour speaker with us one time several years ago. And he wanted to go out and meet some people. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he might have maybe meant like some donors and stuff. But I thought, I know the people who listen the most are the people in the nursing home.
Yeah.
So I took him to the nursing home. And so we went into someone's house, someone's room, and he had a picture of a mule. Oh, he goes, oh, wow, that's a nice animal. And he said, yeah, that's a mule. And we'd actually breed mules. It was kind of fun, he said. We'd have to prop up that.
So he went into all the ways
Right.
in which mules were made.
Right. And he was laughing while how funny it looked and all sorts of things. And
Well, because it's a horse and a donkey.
right.
Yeah. I know. We've got a mule and a donkey north of town in Latimer, and the donkey is just mean. Like every time we walk by, he'll run over to the mule and just start braying at him.
So is that where the term came from?
Anyway,
So moving on.
we'll hit the other Hannah question later.
So I have a top 12 list. I must admit, we've been talking a lot about leisure. At least we were before you went on vacation.
Right.
And I must admit that I am going on vacation soon, and it is really hard for me. My wife can attest to this, to concentrate. Like, I'm on vacation mode.
You kind of remind
Like
me of
2
that
weeks
dog
before.
in Up,
Okay.
where he's like, he's talking, and then he's
Squirrel.
like, oh, squirrel.
One of my mom's favorite stories of me is when I was a little kid, probably like 4. We were told that we were going to go on vacation, and I got my little suitcase and I packed all my socks like a month before, and I tried to go without socks because they were all ready for vacation. She had to sneak them out so I could wear socks.
I want to intervene here for a second to say that I can tell you're very excited because, A, you look like you're dressed already for vacation. You're wearing like the short sleeve button up. You've got like 4 buttons undone on the top. Okay, and not only that, but you started talking about vacation, and immediately your legs started bouncing.
They're bouncing.
Like you're really excited. You can't sit still. And
I'm
that's
ready to
cracking
go,
me up.
man. You notice that I actually literally am bouncing.
So is it in country?
In country, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Florida, have a few beach days, see my
Nice.
parents. So
Yeah, that'll be good.
So what I have prepared then, because we have been talking about the importance of leisure, the top 12 things that I look forward to doing on my time of leisure during vacation.
Good. Let's hear him. Peter, play the intro.
Enough nonsense. It's time for Bollhagen's Top 12.
All right, so what I'm looking forward to, and Peter already referenced some of these, actually. All right? So number 12?
Number 12.
I want to be encouraged by my good friend Berg, so I might try and read a book,
Whoa.
maybe an audio book.
Nice.
Will work better for me. So
I listen to audiobooks all the time. So, like, are you driving down or flying?
we're flying.
Okay.
I'm going to try and squeeze into a Spirit Airlines seat.
Nice.
Yeah,
That is tight.
yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Number 11.
And this is a true statement, okay? Spend as much time as I can shirtless. That's a thing for me.
Now, your folks are in the Orlando area, right?
Right.
Yeah. So not really near a beach. So do they have like a pool or?
Well, they're not a lot about going out and having activities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like spending all day with them might be a little overwhelming. So
Right.
we might go, if you ever, when you go back to Florida,
Yeah.
do one of their springs, their natural springs.
Okay.
What's the
It's
one we
nice
went
and-
to? Big Blue? Something like that?
Right, like a Popka or something like that. But they're like crystal clear. And the water is like 65 degrees year round.
Is that close? So you won't have
There's
to
like a
drive?
whole bunch of them close. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But the thing is, as I mentioned, this is behind the collar moment, is that's something I can't really do when you're a pastor of a small town is spend a lot of time shirtless.
Yeah. Well, I always remember in Fort Wayne when guys would mow the lawn without their shirts on. I thought that was weird. But
So you noticed my shirt, and I'm like, I know, right?
he's already getting there, Peter. It's just,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
he's
it's just
working.
one button at a time.
Like the last time we went to Florida, my wife was wondering, you're pumping gas, you can because I was out pumping gas with just my swim trunks and sandals.
Rock on.
That's my style. And I can't that's one of the things, as a pastor, if you're in a small town, like if I like spend
See, I thought you went to the water park like every day here. The
oh,
water.
that drives me crazy. Oh, you just tore a Band-Aid off, okay?
Okay, so get the music.
Real talk.
The worst thing about being 48 years old, you want to know what it is?
What?
At least for me, I love going to the pool. I love going to the pool. And Peter remembers when he was that age, it got to the point where I had to convince my children, guys, we have to go to the pool.
We would get dragged over, yes.
Right. Because I wanted to go to the pool. And I'm 48 years old. Maybe the listeners can weigh on this. Is it okay for a 45-year-old man to go to the pool by himself? See,
they
that's
have-
the dilemma.
Do they have
That's the-
adults-only time for swimming?
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be something to check in.
I don't know if pastor should go to an adults-only pool.
Maybe you should check in and see if you can go.
Different adults only.
They open up at like 10 a.m. or whatever for like the general swimming. So see if you can go before then. See if you can talk to the people.
But that's not the same atmosphere.
Oh, you want the atmosphere?
Yeah, for example, the speed slide, right?
Yep.
Going down as fast as I can and spraying everyone and getting all the kids and knocking them over with the wave, right?
Well, we could do what we did during COVID and just put up some cardboard cutouts.
Right. It's jumping off the high dive or doing a flip and doing a cannonball that impresses everybody.
Indeed.
All these joys at 48 now has been robbed from me. I'm like, I've even said, can I borrow a couple of your kids so I can go to the pool, Vicar? Maybe that's a solution.
Maybe. I'm sure he would appreciate it.
It's driving me crazy.
Extra
All
set of
weekend
hands for
long,
that,
it was like sunny, 90 degrees, beautiful pool day. Beautiful, get a nice tan, go shirtless, all those things, right?
Yep.
And nothing. It's like looking out the window. I'm like a Labrador that sees kids playing outside through the window.
I get those really sad eyes.
That was me. But
Well, labs usually have sad eyes, though.
but I'm going on vacation.
You're going on vacation.
That's right.
Number 10.
Congratulate my father on his 50th anniversary of his ordination.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that'll be while I'm there.
Yeah, thanks be to
That'll
God.
be 50 years for him. So
Does he do any preaching yet, or?
he does it once in a while. His church has a vacancy right now, and he fills in once in a while. I actually said, now, I generally don't do this, but I did offer if there's a chance, if they need someone, I'd be willing to preach.
We can talk about it,
Right.
at the end of the. Because I do think there are some things we have to watch out for as pastors too.
Sure.
So I'm
Sure.
just
How
waiting to
about,
see.
how about I make a compromise? I can preach, but I have to do it shirtless.
Just as long as there's the little band around,
Right. Pastor Chippendale. We have gone off the rails. Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9 is I want to try some new tequilas. That's become my beverage of choice.
What's in tequila again? What is it?
Agave.
Agave. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something that there's almost like a little bit of a tobacco, like a cigar taste to it that I like. But yeah, I've kind of really gotten into the tequila stuff. So
Nice.
not the tequila, because most people when they talk about tequila, it's just about
Well, everybody's favorite hymn around here, tequila makes her clothes fall off.
right. Well, it's gonna be halfway true because I'll be the one outside shirtless trying a new tequila. So, behind the collar moment.
Indeed.
Oh, I'm ADD today. I apologize. Do you know there's a rival podcast right now?
What?
In town?
What?
Yes.
Who's this?
Just some local pastors that would probably, local pastors, different pastors. And they have this, it's a video podcast. And you know what it's called?
Do I want it? What is it?
It's called Off the Collar.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
And it's got a tagline, a casual conversation with pastors.
No way.
See, they steal everything from us.
Come on.
Yeah, they took Talks and Tastings and they did their own thing. Now they took the podcast and they're doing their own thing.
They're like 17 in.
I mean, are we really surprised that they're piggybacking off of anything named Lutheran?
I mean, we are that good though. I mean, I guess we should be like
Flattered?
flattered. That, But come on, that's so shameless. That's a rip. It's a rip off.
And my wife said, "Oh, it could just have been like a
No.
coincidence."
Uh-uh.
Off the Collar, the show that shows you what's behind the collar.
Come on.
Right, Peter? Right?
Shameless.
It is. Like, have your own ideas.
Or at least a different name.
So,
I think I woke up my neighbors with my yell there. Sorry, neighbors.
Number 8.
I look forward to trying a different Freak Factory.
Okay, yeah. Mm.
Gives me a chance to hop in some different gyms, try some different equipment.
Florida is kind of the mecca for worshiping the body.
Right. And I feel convicted.
Do they have any good beach gyms around there?
I don't know if Florida, it might be too humid and rainy to have like an outdoor gym.
Well, yeah, it's going to be thick down there because Glorianne and I, my wife and I, we went down there when our son was just very, very little, down to Vanderbilt, which is a lot farther south than Orlando. But, boy, it was humid. But the golf was like bathwater. It was amazing.
Right. Well, see, that it just gives me reason to not wear a shirt.
See?
I don't know.
That seems like the overarching theme here.
So,
Number 7.
and I don't know if Peter's noticed this or not, is I look forward to walking differently. I walk differently when I'm on vacation. Slow, confident. I mean, I've always had a confident walk, but a nice leisurely walk. I kind of have a little bit of a vacation swagger to it. Have you ever noticed that, Peter?
Well, I think it, whether they realize it or not, I feel like everybody does that. Because you're switching from walking with a purpose to walking because.
Yep, because, I mean, we got to be on all the time.
Right.
And I was listening to another podcast.
Off the Collar?
No, not that one. Art of Manliness. And when you're on all the time, it actually screws up your system. And, that's the thing with pastors is we kind of have to be on all the time. We're on call all the time. It's not.
That I think a good example is when I go back to the shirtless thing is I always have to be mindful in the community.
Yeah, I mean, there are just things that you're uptight, and when you finally get to relax, it's just
kind of like I actually had someone. I told someone I was going to work out, and they said, "Oh, you're going to listen to some more contemporary Christian music with a because I had an episode. Were you here, or was that for Bert?
I think that was with Bert.
No, I did listen to the one. See, and you thought I wouldn't listen, and I did.
Yeah, you did.
See?
Or I was working out the wellness center by myself, by the way, playing my own music.
Right, and people were upset with it, right?
Right. And I had a couple of people, I like contemporary Christian music.
Yeah,
So-
I did hear that.
So, yeah, because you're going to come up with that top 12 list
From TLH.
of hymns to work
that's
out
right.
to.
Yeah.
Number 6.
I'm going to memorize a poem.
Nice.
So,
Do you have an idea of which poem you're going to...
no, probably nothing that starts off with roses are red. That'll be too easy for me.
Right?
Do you have any suggestions? A leisure poem for me to memorize?
How short?
Keep it like 4 stanzas or less.
Depends on what we mean by poem, too. Because, like, I could call Dr. Seuss poetry, and I think I have Fox and Socks completely memorized.
Oh,
Yeah. I guess I would do something a little more traditional.
okay.
Maybe like, it's a little bit long. It's not like long, but Death Be Not Proud by John Donne.
Okay. All right, I'll take a look at that.
Or William Blake. His Claude and the Stone is a really good one.
So when I get back, I'll have to see if that'll be my goal then. I'll recite the poem.
Nice. Or even do like Psalm 1 or Psalm 2 or, pick a psalm to,
That's true.
I know Glorianne and I have started memorizing Psalms,
Okay.
That one's not bad.
No, that doesn't look...
All right, so
It's about the length of a 2-stanza hymn.
Right? Yeah.
Now-
That last one short sleep past and we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. It's just so powerful. Like, this should be the poem that they put on the back of like bulletins for funerals, because they always, everyone's like, and then usually it's just not very good
footprints, you say don't memorize footprints.
unless you're gonna do the, the one pair of, sand people follow one each other to, from Star Wars.
They walk in single file.
Maybe I'll
They
write
walk in single file to
hide their numbers.
Maybe I'll write a poem about the shirt in the sand.
There you go.
All right.
Number 5.
Oh, and this is one of my favorite things to do on vacation. Okay, is because one of the places what we do is we find a hole in the wall place, but it's on the beach,
Yeah.
so it's cheap, but you're right there on the beach. Mm-hmm. Okay, so have you ever done this? Having a late night cigar while sitting in the ocean, looking at the stars.
I would change cigar to a pipe, but yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, that makes me want to go on vacation.
And I even got a special bathing suit for my late night cigar. So
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
you can tell I'm excited, right?
Yes.
All right.
Number 4.
For my birthday, my wife let me pick out a new mask and snorkel.
Oh, nice.
And I noticed when I ordered it that it has not only that, it has a little thing where you can attach on the top of the mask an action cam.
And
So
you
I could,
have
like,
an
go
action cam. You do have one, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be waterproof enough. But I did find on Amazon, my wife doesn't know this yet, a cheap action cam. So
Surprise.
so that when I'm going to the Springs, and maybe for the show, since we were talking about leisure, I can do maybe some nice leisure.
Snorkeling.
I can share my leisure with, maybe not the shirtless thing,
Right.
So I got a cheap action cam. I was joking around. I was going to call it, it's not a GoPro, it's a Go Amateur. But then someone told me that's not really something I should talk about as a, right.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So a cheap GoPro camera, snorkeling with it.
Nice. I've never been.
You all right, Vicar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never been snorkeling. Is it hard?
No, it's easy because
You just kind of float on top of the water?
float on, and you can go down and then when you come back up, you just blow it out the rest of the water, and you can keep going.
Oh, okay.
And like in the springs, if it's in the springs, it's just like as clear as air, and you can just follow fish. I'll show you. I'll show you from my action cam.
Nice.
I can confirm the spring is the best thing I've ever done on vacation, ever.
Because you wind up, you're like,
Now, is it like a hot spring or no? It's not. It's like
No, it's
65,
Cold,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
It's like
Yeah.
It's like
we've been to like the hot springs, like in Wyoming and stuff. That was really fun too.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, this
it's
is
like almost
it's
numbingly
one of the
cold, and then once you get into it, and then you're just good.
oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Refreshing.
And you wind up, you realize, would you realize we were in the water for 2 hours, just snorkeling and chasing fish, and yeah, it is. I think the hidden gems of Florida. These
Yeah,
natural
I've never
springs.
even heard of these before. So
Yes. So that is what I plan to do on number 4.
Number 3.
I look forward to being with my mom and dad on Father's Day. I don't get to do that very often.
yeah,
So on Father's Day, I get to actually spend it with my dad. So
That's
that should be
awesome.
fun.
Number 2.
Spend time away from Norman.
why you and Norman aren't friends, or you're too much of friends?
I don't know. Peter, you're taking off your headphones, so no, I'm just kidding. I have to joke about Norman in every podcast now.
It's true. So is his name actually Norman now?
It is actually Norman now.
Yeah.
The wife gave up. And there's usually two reactions to the name Norman. That's a perfect name for him. Or, you named your dog Norman?
And number 1.
Quality time with Mrs. Bollhagen.
Aw.
So,
So
I had to
great list.
right,
Awesome
because I
list.
had to put that in case
Are you turning off your cell phone
Oh, probably.
so you can't get any calls?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good. Because you need that.
Oh, by the way, I hate to ask you over a podcast, but would you be able to fill in if anything if Becker needs help with anything?
What's the when is that again?
I'm leaving Monday and then coming back the next week.
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday I'm in a conference in Wisconsin, but I can come back if,
Okay. All right.
I mean, unless there's an actual like full-scale emergency, I don't think we're gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, if it's
In
that
too much trouble.
Yeah, if it's that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could check with Burns too.
I would drive back. Yeah.
And I can check with Burns too.
Nope, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, definitely I can do that. That's no big deal.
Because most things Vicar is
Because I'm leaving
is
on
capable.
Monday and I'll be back on Tuesday. So
Okay. All right. Thank you for working that out on the podcast behind the collar moment. Something pastors have to do.
Yep.
Usually, it's never on. Do you remember the one time where
I think you were covering for the whole circuit.
yeah, like all the pastors left and they forgot to do that, and I'm getting calls from all over the circuit. I'm like traveling to Timbuktu.
There actually is a
Wasn't
Timbuk
there-
brew. So
Wasn't there a one Sunday where both you and your vicar covered 2 services each?
I think there was a time. Yeah, but they might have had someone to cover on the Sunday, but
right.
The during the week stuff.
right.
Yeah.
And
We actually need that's what a Winkle should be. Like, hey, what are our summer schedules? We should plan that out.
I wonder how they handle that situation on Off the Collar.
Yeah.
Go to Off the Collar and rate 1 star on iTunes.
No. This is going to become a schismatic thing. We don't want to. We don't want it to. I mean, do you want to start a war? I mean,
I'm down to start a war. This is what, episode 115? We are number 1 by far. They copied us.
Yeah, it is a little weird, but it is, yeah.
We need to go on a
Imitation
crusade.
is the best form of flattery, I
A
guess.
crusade.
Ooh, I do like crusades. Don't get me wrong.
Depends which one.
As long as it's Indomitus.
Okay.
so one thing I feel like I should do is before we, because I've got I can do a chapter of my book club
Nice.
Peter, play the intro.
It's book time with Bollhagen.
That's right.
So I am on chapter 6. If you're reading along with me at home,
Does it start on page 66?
I don't know. It was on my Kindle.
Now, what book is this again?
Oh, that'd be good.
This
be
is
awesome?
chapter 6 of Mike Lindell's What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO.
Nice.
So
Vickers laughing at me
chapters-
because I still have the Wikipedia page open.
No, partially that, but partially also I was expecting it's like, oh, if I get asked, because all I can hear is, How I Manage by Michael Scott. It's like, that's not right, but it might as well be.
All right. So if you're following along, if you're joining me on this journey, and by the way, if you have any critiques or anything that you found out from this book that would be helpful, please let us know. You could be part of this club too.
And where can they get a hold of us, Vicar?
They can email us, feedback@clericalerrors.org. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/clericalerrorspodcast, and on Twitter @clericalerrorsp.
And by the way, listener, you can also, we've opened up a new email account entitled Not Off the Collar @clericalerrors.org. If you email us, that gets us a special flag that we will particularly take notice if you email us at not off the collar @clericalerrors.org.
And we will give you a personal shout out if you email. Using
Not
this
only
one.
that, but as long as you're not our associate producer, we will email you back. No,
Right.
Not Hannah though, but everybody else.
Yeah, Hannah will send you some cookies.
I was gonna say we should check and see if they have an email, if they have Off the Collar as an email address, and if they don't, grab it.
Ooh, good idea.
Oh,
We don't want to be petty.
No, not
we're
for,
supposed
not-
to be examples,
not
aren't
for-
we? We're
No,
pastors.
not for any petty purpose, for trolling purposes.
Because isn't that even worse? Isn't being a troll worse than being petty?
I mean, you've read Luther's insults, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the thing is, as seasoned
didn't say it was a
pastors,
good
we've
idea.
been on the other side of a little troll now and again.
Yep.
I didn't say it was a good suggestion.
So anyways, so if you are interested in talking about this, you can get a hold of us there. So chapter 6 of this quick review of chapter 6. So this is where it starts to become a love story.
Ooh.
This is where he meets the love of his life, Karen. And it starts off though where he is on a work release program because he had been in jail for breaking into a shop, stealing a car, I think, because he had a gambling debt.
Yeah, didn't he? Well, and then didn't he, because they were threatening his family too, right?
Right. So he is, then he's back in Minnesota.
I didn't know Minnesota was such a rough place.
Right. Well, apparently it is. So he is staying with Dean, Bob, and Tony, who all happen to be on cocaine. They do a lot of cocaine together.
Because that's a great environment.
And he was dealing with what he called a lot of small town judgment, he thought, from his incident of prior breaking into that place because of the gambling debt.
Yeah.
So maybe it has to be the fact that he's living with 3 crackheads, but...
I mean, who can tell, right?
Right. I mean, anyways, so he's doing, and so he realizes then at that point when he was needed a little pep, he decided to try a little cocaine. And guess what happens?
He got high on his own supply.
Yeah, and cocaine became his best friend. Mm-hmm. So, and then for some strange reason, he got really busy. He got a lot done. Yeah. And almost for like a paragraph, it kind of seems like an advertisement for cocaine.
So is this like 80s? This is
He's
like
85, the summer of 85. Okay. So
summer of 85.
he starts cocaine. He gets a bunch of jobs.
Yeah. Jeez.
So,
Oh,
Vicar,
boy.
don't do that.
No.
All right. So he gets really busy. He meets Karen in the bar.
So is she a Karen?
Yes, Karen is her name.
You know what I'm asking
Yes.
you, though, right?
Yes. Her name is Karen. I don't remember her last name. And they dated a couple of times, and then she kind of plays hard to get, kind of ghosts him. And so he's brokenhearted. He feels very insecure, highlighted by the fact that...
Did she just, like, blow the white powder everywhere and,
right.
disappeared?
I don't remember. That part got a little sketchy for me.
A little hazy.
Right. Bear in mind, it's taken me, 3 months to get through the 6 chapters so far?
I just figured it was that intense of a book.
Yeah. Well, I get done and I start sweating and, man, it's like I've been on a journey. I get lost in it, Berg.
Yeah, I believe you.
Maybe it's the cocaine.
Okay, so she ghosts him.
Right. And so he goes to his
Ghosts,
high school
white.
reunion and then, of course, feeling insecure about Karen.
Yep.
And then he goes to his high school reunion and, all his high school classmates have their lives together and, he's not doing as well. And that's kind of how chapter 6 ends. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, well, you feel free to read the book. Next episode, you'll learn about chapter 7. My goal is to maybe be done with this book by the end of the summer.
Nice.
Okay? Because I'm really inwardly digesting this, Berg.
I believe you.
Right? So we're still on the crack addict part.
Yeah.
We're still learning about the CEO.
So how many chapters are there in this? 12? 15? 20?
I don't know. You know how I used to read books as a kid? You know how you get assigned a book?
Yeah.
Right? This won't surprise you, okay? I would read a page.
Yeah.
I'd look at the clock, and I'd say, that took me 2 minutes to read. And then I would look at it, okay, that took me 2 minutes to read. I should read 20 more pages. That'll take me about 40 minutes to read. And then I would read another page, and I would say, okay, that one was a little slower. So I think I'll get the rest of the pages done in maybe like 45 to 50 minutes.
But you see, now your concentration is like divided. So you really can't enjoy the book.
Right.
Man, dude, that's sad. Like, that makes me feel sad for you.
And then I get another 5 pages in. How am I doing according to my timing? Because I really want to get this done. And then I'd say, oh, I did a little faster. And then I think, well, what did I just read?
Oh.
Does that make you sad?
It does make me sad.
And so it was like how I approach bench press, which is maybe why I do that. But that's actually, as a child, that's how I remember reading it. And I would wind up spending my time thinking about the math of getting through it rather than getting immersed in the book. So if you're a listener, if that's ever been your way of reading when you were a child,
Rewind and listen to Vickers' deal about where you can reach us.
Yeah.
Side note, remember, whatever you do, don't go to offthecollarpodcast.com. Remember, do not go to offthecollarpodcast.com.
That almost makes me want to go.
did you domain that name?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my
I'm
God.
washing my hands of this situation. I regret even saying anything about it.
Well, you wanted to have a podcast network. This is just one step in the acquisition process.
Just feel like we've made a clerical error here.
Maybe this is ecumenicalism done right.
Yeah. What's good for both of us, right? A little feud.
Yeah, I mean, just like WWF, right? The heels and,
Did you really do that?
100%. It redirects to clericalerrors.org.
But what? Did you actually look up the podcast? Like, but is it a dot? But would they have a .org or a .com?
I bought .com.
We own the rights. I think you just made Berg's day.
Oh my gosh, this is Wow, I love commitment.
So, Berg, you're probably thinking that I am the father of genius.
I would, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Oh boy.
So if you want to know more about our show, just go to offthecollarpodcast.com.
Or email us, feedback at offthecollarpodcast.com.
At me, bro.
Oh man. Oh, that's awesome.
I think that's a great way to end the show. I don't know if I can carry on this episode.
Yeah, I think we're kind of sorry, Hannah. We didn't get to your question. We'll get to it next episode.
Well, thank you for listening. I am Bollhagen.
I'm Berg.
I'm Vicar.
And may your websites redirect.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clerical Errors Podcast, on Twitter at Clerical Errors P for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.